I had finally made it to the house that Tyler had been staying in, hoping and praying to whatever was listening that he heeded my instructions and stayed put. It had taken me a few days to actually get there, and I was extremely worried that something had gone to him or he went wandering out by himself. I went into this job thinking it'd be relatively simple as I had done this a few dozen times by this point. I planned to go in there and hopefully find him, extract him from the house, and take him back to the bastion where he'd be safe and sound. I looked at the photo I had of the house. Yep, this had to be the place. My only concerns were the possibility that his memory leaks were getting worse, meaning the worlds were beginning to converge at a much faster rate than anticipated, as well as the great possibility something may have been waiting for me in that house. There was also the chance that I could have miscalculated his location and I was putting myself in an unreasonable amount of danger. No matter. I had done this multiple times before. I believed I mastered the art of getting in and out of these jobs quickly without getting myself killed. I pulled out my two-way radio and began to speak to Dominic. "How's it looking outside?" he asked. I took a long look around, checking to see if anyone or anything was lurking about. I looked at the photo again, noticing a few key changes, such as the windows being boarded up as well as the front door being closed. Everything seemed normal, though, all except a sick smell emanating from the house that smelled almost like rotting garbage, or perhaps rotting fruit, or... Oh God. It's all clear, sir. There's no cars or anything. Place is all boarded up. I am a bit worried about the smell, though. I wish I could find where it's coming from. The smell? Yeah. The smell. Smells like some garbage. Something dead, maybe. You'd think by now I'd know the smell of something dead and decaying, but I let out a nervous chuckle, making my way to the front porch. I looked back at the empty street, knowing once I entered this house I'd most likely be transported to an entirely different world. Time would work differently in this place, and almost anything could happen. It was definitely an awful idea to come here this late at night, but as long as I did what I was trained to do, I would be fine. If we have a body, we're certainly in for a long job then. Just keep an eye out for one. Will do, I said, turning the doorknob. It was locked. I swore under my breath. Looks like the front door is locked. I'll have to go around and see if I can find a back door or something open. I made my way around the house, checking for any way to get in. I managed to find a door leading to the basement that was open and I made my way inside the abandoned home. The air inside was much colder than it was outside, and I knew at that point the clock was ticking. The basement was pitch black as I had expected. Thankfully, I came prepared. I pulled out my flashlight and began to look around the large basement. There wasn't much of anything besides a few stray pieces of furniture like chairs and small tables. There was a single bike in the center of the room, so that was certainly a bit unsettling, as well as a bunch of old glass dolls and an eerie-looking mask lying on the floor near the stairs leading up to the basement door. I picked up the mask to inspect it, not recognizing it. It was definitely some sort of ritualistic mask, like the ones in Jay Dusable's nightmares that he had told me about. I quickly put it back down where I had found it and flashed my light all over the large room one more time before heading towards the stairs. Basement's clear. I found some sort of mask, but I don't think it has much to do with our investigation. A mask? Keep an eye out. You may not be alone. Dominic told me. I hoped he was wrong. The wooden stairs leading up to the basement door creaked with every step I made. I nearly jumped out of my skin as I heard something run out, knocking something to the ground. I flashed my light towards the direction of the commotion to see the eyes of an animal peeking out underneath one of the tables. Looking closer, I could see it was a small cat that had knocked down an old broom. I let out a sigh of relief, continuing my way back up the stairs. I had noticed the smell I had smelt before was at its worst when going up the stairs, and trying to avoid gagging became nearly impossible. Whatever it was definitely in the room this door led to. I cursed to myself, mentally preparing myself for the worst. I looked away as I slowly turned the knob of the wooden door. Jesus fucking Christ. There was a body sitting at the table now, 2 bodies. They both had been there for quite some time, judging by how decayed they were. The mix of the decaying bodies on top of the smell of must from the room being closed off for God knows how long was nearly enough to make me lose the dinner I had about 2 hours before. The sight of a second, smaller body in a high chair was enough to make me almost lose whatever composure I had left after seeing the first one. I had seen dead bodies before, but this was my first time seeing corpses that had been decaying for longer than a week. These bodies had to have been there for at least a month or 2, but they definitely smelled like they had been there longer. I looked away from the grotesque scene, speaking into my two-way radio to relay my findings. Sir, we've got some bodies. They've been here for a while. God. Smells fucking awful. God damn it. Alright. I'll get someone on that once the area is completely cleared. Think there's a child. Fuck. Can you make out any details? I looked back at the scenes, getting closer. I cannot. Looks like they were eating dinner. Holy shit. There's so many fucking maggots and flies. Everything was completely untouched, even the rotting food on the table. For whatever reason, I had not noticed the large kitchen knife plunged into the larger body's chest. I pulled the knife from the body, and it slumped over. I let out a gag, jumping back. I nearly forgot why I was here in the first place as I felt the air grow hotter and hotter the longer I stood in the kitchen. It was getting hard to breathe. I quickly left the kitchen with the knife still in my hand. I needed to find Tyler and get the fuck out of this place. I was beyond freaked out at this point, and nearly every tiny little sound had my heart racing. I managed to quickly clear the first floor, not finding anything of too much importance besides an empty, dirty pill bottle. I wasn't able to make out much on the label except for the last name Laman and the name of the medication that had once been inside of the bottle, Fluoridazine. I realized I needed to check upstairs and I felt sick to my stomach. Maybe he was upstairs. I just wanted to get the fuck out of this place. Dominic? You there? I am. Find anything? Nothing downstairs besides a pill bottle. You know anything about Fluoridazine? That's a antipsychotic, I'm pretty sure. Is there a name on the bottle? I can only make out the last name. It's a Laman. Ty's never taken any, has he? Not ours, no. Could be the other one. We can't entirely rule that possibility out. I'm gonna go look upstairs and I'll get back. I was cut off by the sudden start of music that came from upstairs. I nearly jumped out of my skin once again, not prepared for what was to come. Shit, someone's upstairs. Gonna go check it out. I clutched the knife tightly in my gloved hand as I quietly made my way up the stairs, slowly getting closer and closer to where the music was coming from. I could see bloody footprints leading up the stairs and I followed them. They led to a room at the end of the hall, a room I could only assume was the master bedroom of the household. I could see a small bit of light coming from the half-closed door. I could hear the sound of someone moving about, quietly singing along to the music. It was a woman's voice, however the sound was wrong. I can't exactly explain why it was wrong, but all I know is that everything about it just sounded wrong. Her voice was raspy, the type of raspiness you'd associate with a smoker, but it was as if she had smoked at least 20 packs all at once. It was very melodic, however, almost entrancing. I was just behind the door, debating turning away and running like a bat out of hell. I couldn't. I had a job to do. I peeked through the door to see a blonde woman sitting at a vanity, looking down. She was wearing a black turtleneck and matching pants. She had gone completely silent now and was unmoving as the song ended. There was only silence left and it was deafening. I almost let out an audible sigh of relief as a different song started up. I slowly opened the door a bit further. The relief was short-lived, however. As I opened the door, her head snapped up in a very unnatural fashion and she had a wide grin on her face. I let out a "what the fuck?" as she stood up. I was able to make out her face in the dim lighting coming from the flickering overhead light. She had blood and a black substance caked onto her pale face. I could see mascara running down from her eyes and it appeared as if she had been bashed over the head and stabbed. "Oh my god, are you okay?" I found myself asking, and she laughed hoarsely in response. "I've been waiting for some company for a while now," she replied. I looked back behind me, preparing to run out the door. "Oh, please don't leave. I'm sorry about the mess downstairs. I haven't gotten around to cleaning that up yet." "Who are you?" She smiled. "You don't recognize me? I'm Sarah. Sarah Laman." "What? Baker's fiancé? No, it couldn't be. She was dead. We heard her die on that audio the Moon Children had sent to him." "What?" was the only thing I could get out. Her smile faded a bit. "What is it?" "It looks like you've seen a ghost." "It feels like I am." "You're supposed to be dead." "Well, it looks like I am alive and well. I haven't felt better." "You're Alex, aren't you?" I nodded. Her smile returned and she drew closer. I instinctively backed up, not letting go of the knife still in my hand. She seemed to notice it and her smile only grew bigger. "What's that for?" "What's the matter, sweetheart?" "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want some company." "What's the deal with the rotting bodies downstairs?" I asked. She paused for a moment, thinking about what to say. They were so loud. So loud. Her husband was awful and the baby wouldn't shut up. It just all got to be too much. Too much sound. So loud. So hungry. Her husband? My husband. Yes, my husband and family. Too loud. Right. Well, I should get going. No. Her voice was raspier than it had been before and I thought I could hear something almost like static in it. Her eyes went wide and she got closer. I mean, no please. Have you seen my little boy? Your little boy? Tyler. I've been looking for him everywhere. My little boy? I want to see him. I haven't seen him in so long. Okay, now the red flags that I had before were blaring sirens at this point. I needed to get out of there fast. Listen, I'd love to stay, but I'm afraid I can't. Why? I have business to attend to. Please. I need him. I want to see him. I want help. She got closer and I pointed the knife up towards her, prepared to do what I needed to. Look, I'm pretty confident that you're not Sarah, or maybe at least you were at one point. You're sure as fuck not her now, though. She froze in place, frowning, and we both stood in silence. After what felt like an hour, that fucking smile returned and she got even closer. I thrusted the knife forwards, showing whatever this thing was that I wasn't afraid to defend myself. Who am I? Yeah, who are you? Who are you, really? Who am I? She asked again, the smile never fading. She started approaching me faster, and I backed up. Whoa. Back the fuck up. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? She began to repeat this. I began to back up towards the door, getting ready to make a break for it. She stood still, waiting for me to make the first move. I began to back out of the door before running. I could hear her begin to run and I yelled into my two-way radio. It was a trap. I need backup. She was laughing and yelling now, following closely behind. WHOMI? 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 I ran down the stairs towards the front door, hoping I could open it from the inside. No such luck. Fuck! I yelled. I ran back and she managed to tackle me, knocking me to the wooden floor of the living room. We fought on the floor for several moments, and I believed this might be it. Would I legitimately die this way? She never stopped repeating WHOMI, gradually getting louder and louder. I desperately tried reaching for the knife or my bag that had been tossed across the room. Out of sheer luck, I managed to grab the knife, plunging it into her chest. She let out an inhuman scream, falling onto her back. I got up, grabbing my bag and heading towards the basement. She quickly followed behind me, coughing up black was mixed with blood. I screamed out various curses as I saw the basement was locked. Sarah flipped a switch I must not have seen before, turning on the flickering lights of the basement. Making her way down the stairs, her eyes burned with hatred. She laughed to herself, rubbing her black was-covered mouth with her hand. She stared at me for a moment before running towards me, screaming out like a wild animal. I fired 2 shots into her and she fell to the ground, motionless. I dropped my gun, taking in everything that had just happened. I looked back at the door, turning the doorknob. It opened this time and I ran out, seeing it was now daytime. I ran out of there towards my car down the road, climbing in and checking my phone that I had foolishly left in the car to charge. March 10th. I had arrived on the 13th of January only for me to make it out of there on March 10th. I shook my head, finishing my report and calling Dominic. Okay, well that's certainly new. Shit.